What did the Chinese Communist Party do? Tiananmen Square massacre. Religious persecution. Falun Gong persecution. Killed 80 million innocent people. Destroyed traditional culture. Cover up the coronavirus. Ambition to rule the world. China, the 5,000-year ancient culture. With profound moral values, benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, trustworthiness. It was regarded as the land of deities. Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism set the culture of valuing virtuousness and doing good deeds for Chinese people, passing on the traditional divine culture. However, since the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) came to power, it has changed China into a completely different country. Traditional values were reversed. Evilness triumphed, putting the Chinese nation on the path to destruction. The CCP committed 10 most horrendous crimes in history. Crime 1. The CCP destroyed humans' righteous faith. In history, all nations believed in gods. It is the faith in gods, and the principle that good will be rewarded with good and evil will incur retribution, that mankind can restrain themselves, and uphold the morality of society until today. People believed that God sees everything we do, so they did not dare to do bad things. However, since Chinese Communist Party was founded, it denied the existence of divine beings. It forced people to learn and believe in atheism, and brainwashed them to believe in materialism, a theory that still remains controversial. Crime 2. Disrupting nature, potentially creating disasters for the world. Nature is the living environment for humans. Living in harmony with nature will help people have a good living environment. Protecting nature is also protecting people's long lives. But the CCP battled with heaven and earth, changed and recreated mountains and rivers to get what they wanted. Today natural disaster, flood, and water pollution are destroying human life. It affects not only China but also the whole world. Crime 3. Inciting struggle and hatred. People have to labor in order to be successful. That is the principle of heaven and earth. But the CCP instigated and incited hatred. Peasants denounced and killed landlords in the land reform campaign in 1950s, which caused more than 20 million villagers nationwide to be classified as landlords, wealthy people, anti-socialists and bad people, to rob even more property. The CCP also incited workers' greed to let them rob factories and killed the owners in the commercial and industrial reform campaign. It forced the capitalists to turn in their assets, pushed them to the dead end, and caused many of them to commit suicide. As a result, people lost their kind nature. Their minds are all about self-interest, hatred, and struggle. Crime 4. Killed 80 million innocent citizens. Human life is the most precious. However, to implement its dictatorship, the CCP despised human life. Throughout the CCP's history of establishment and development, through political movements such as 3 Anti and 5 Anti, casting away the 4 olds, anti-rightist Cultural Revolution, Tiananmen Square massacre, the persecution of Falun Gong, and so on, the number of innocent people killed by the CCP is estimated to be 80 million. The CCP caused countless unjust deaths. This number is more than the deaths of the 2 world wars combined. Crime 5. Destroyed religion. Religion is a way for people to escape from the secular world and to cultivate themselves. Religion is also a bridge between human and gods, through the practice of the good teachings of Buddhism, Confucianism, Christianity and so on. Soon after the CCP established its government, it began to destroy temples, burn scriptures, and forced the Buddhist monks and nuns to return to secular life. During the Cultural Revolution, the Buddhist temples, Taoist temples, Buddha statues, historical and scenic sites, calligraphy, paintings, and antiques became the main targets for destruction by the Red Guards. Crime 6. Destroying traditional culture and replacing with party culture. The traditional Chinese culture of 5,000 years takes benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and faithfulness as the foundations. Taoism emphasizes truthfulness, while Buddhism emphasizes compassion. However, the CCP replaced it with deceit, evil, and strife. Mao Zedong said, "Battling with heaven is endless joy. Fighting with the earth is endless joy, and struggling with humanity is endless joy." His entire life always incites social classes to hate and denounce each other in order to achieve his goals. As a result, today the morality of Chinese people is declining. Fake merchandise is rampant. People no longer trust each other. They are always wary and willing to do bad deeds for a little personal gain. All of these are the result of the CCP's deceit, evil, and strife culture. Crime 7. Tiananmen Square Massacre. In May 1989, Beijing's patriotic students protested peacefully in the hope for a more democratic government and more freedom for the press. However, the CCP considered this as a rebellious German and suppressed it brutally. Tanks entered Tiananmen Square and killed more than 10,000 unarmed students. The June 4th massacre has been a living proof of dictatorship and the willingness to kill people without restraint. Those who disagree with it. Crime 8. Persecuting Falun Gong practitioners. Derived from Jiang Zemin's jealousy. In July 1999, Jiang Zemin and the CCP persecuted about 100 million Falun Gong practitioners. Falun Gong is a practice from the Buddhist discipline that teaches people to behave according to truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. Millions of practitioners were arrested and sentenced. They were tortured brutally and even killed, because they refused to give up their faith. More importantly, many Falun Gong practitioners in China were harvested their live organs in the prisons and re-education camps. Many children lost their parents, and many families lost their children. This is a crime against humanity, a cold genocide. Compared to the Nazis' genocide, this crime is much more serious. Today, this crime is still going on in China. Crime 9. The CCP's global ambitions. With the ambition to rule the world, the CCP is bringing its evil communist theory to all over the world. The CCP has been gradually invading the South China Sea through the so-called Nine-Dash Line. It antagonizes all countries having the sea adjacent to this Nine-Dash Line. It regularly and blatantly sends surveillance ships into Vietnamese and other countries' water. It is the same with the expansion plan for the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI). By the tactic of financing economic projects, the CCP engrossed and seized these countries by debt traps, making them become economically dependent on China. The CCP has gradually expanded and exported the communist ideology to these countries. Crime 10. Covering up of coronavirus pandemic, destroying humanity. On the eve of a catastrophe, God's once again compassionately warned people about the crime that they are committing. It is the coronavirus pandemic. However, the CCP did not correct its wrongdoings. It also blamed the US for the coronavirus. The CCP lied and covered up the disease information, making the disease spread around the world. More than 20 million people have been infected so far, and more than 800,000 people have died. The CCP's nature is evil, deceiving, violent, inciting struggle and hatred, anti-God and anti-human. Therefore, heaven will destroy the CCP. The second wave of coronavirus had returned. The number of infected patients worldwide has reached a record. The number of deaths is increasing rapidly daily. Unlike the previous pandemic, this one is no longer a warning from gods, but it is annihilation. This is a large catastrophe that people have to bear. How to escape from this large catastrophe? Over the past 20 years, Falun Gong practitioners have been persisting in their efforts to tell people in the world about the CCP's evil nature, as well as to expose the CCP's bloody persecution of 100 million Falun Gong practitioners. Let's understand the facts. The wickedness of the CCP regime is the main cause of large catastrophes for people. Individuals, organizations, and countries who are allies of the CCP, or who agree and support it, will suffer the same result during this pandemic. For Chinese people, quit the CCP, the Communist Youth League, and the Young Pioneers quickly. For people around the world, understand the cruelty of the CCP, condemn the crime of persecuting Falun Gong. In this critical moment, you must distinguish between good and evil. Stay away from the CCP. Don't be in line with the CCP. By doing so, when heaven destroys the CCP, we will not suffer the same fate as it, and can be saved. Falun Dafa is the Buddha that saves people at this critical moment. Sincerely recite, Falun Dafa is good, truthfulness, compassion, forbearance is good. You will be safe.